All right, welcome to AgencyRise, the podcast where digital marketing agencies rise together. I'm your host, Chris Rudolph. I've spent a decade coaching digital agency founders, helping them scale, systemize operations, and break free from the day-to-day grind. On this podcast, we'll talk about what really moves the needle for agencies, getting clients, building a team, creating systems, positioning, focus, and freedom. There's no hype here, no guru nonsense, just real conversations for people in the agency trenches. So today I'm joined by Leandro Cabrini and the founder of Propel. Propel is a recruiting partner that helps agencies hire top remote talent from Latin America, usually faster and at a materially lower cost than US or UK hiring. He built the model first by doing it inside his own UK performance marketing agency, then turning that internal advantage into a standalone business. So, Leandro, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Chris. Thank you for having me. Great to be here. Always good to chat.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's start with this. Like, for those that aren't familiar with you, tell them a little bit more about you and about Propel.
Perfect. Let me tell you a little bit about me first. As you mentioned before, my background is in marketing. I used to run a performance marketing agency before I launched Propel. I'm based in London in the UK. I've been here for 10 years. So, I was born in Argentina. But when I moved to the UK, a couple of years after I moved here, I launched my performance marketing agency. As we started scaling and getting more clients, I started hiring more people here in the UK. Because I was born in Argentina, I knew that we had great talent in Latin America. So I kind of started thinking about it and I said, you know what, why not start hiring some people over there to support my team here in the UK. I did that for around 4 years and it went really well. And at the same time, as I was running the performance marketing agency, I kind of like after a few years of doing this, I started thinking about it and I said, why not start doing this, but as a service for other companies? Because I knew lots of agencies out there, agencies and brands, they needed kind of the same that we were doing. But I kind of launched it as a side thing, to see if there was any interest. And luckily there was interest and there was a lot of interest. And it kind of like started running really well as a side thing. And then it kind of overtook the performance marketing agency in terms of revenue very quickly. So then I was like, well, actually, I probably should focus on this, And yeah, that's how we started. Very kind of going from side gig to like a full-time thing very quickly. And yeah, it's been really exciting since then. We launched mid 2024. So we've been running for a little bit over a year and a half. And yeah, it's been really exciting to launch it and to scale it.
That's super interesting. I run into quite a few entrepreneurs that they created a solution internally and then that ends up being a business, but it wasn't necessarily the idea behind it wasn't really thinking of that, but it became that way. So that's really interesting. I'm curious, I know very few in the digital went to university for these type of things. It's starting to become a thing now, but like not many of us did. So I'm curious, what did you do before your agency?
Before my agency, I went to uni for 6 months and dropped out. So I didn't go to uni. Well, I went for 6 months only. That was in Argentina back when I was like 19 or 18. Then I was working in lots like different things. From Argentina, my family owns a small family winery over there. So I used to work a little bit, like do a little bit of wine. I used to play music too. So I did a little bit of music, playing, recording and things like that. That was kind of like from like when I was 20. By the time I was 25, I was in Argentina. The band and the music didn't kind of take me anywhere. So I was kind of like in the middle of this life crisis and saying, what do I do from here? And I always loved, I was in Argentina. I loved Argentina, but I always felt I didn't have enough opportunities there to grow and to build the life that I wanted to build. So I had an Italian passport because of the grandfather of my mother, basically. And I was thinking about what can I do? I can't stay here because like I don't have anything here. I didn't have the band anymore. I didn't have a job that I loved or anything like that. So what do I do? And I was like, I need to go. I need to like go somewhere, somewhere else. I need to start and go somewhere where I have the opportunities that I think I want and I can take, So because of my Italian passport, I wanted to go to the US. That was my first, goal, but I didn't know anything about how to get a visa. If I could get a visa or anything, I was like 25. I'm 36 now, but I still don't know much, but I didn't know anything back then.
I love it.
And so I was like, look, I'm not going to go without a visa just to, do some crazy stuff over there. So I'm like, what is the second best place that I can go with my passport? I can stay there and work. And that was basically Europe. And the best place in Europe, in my opinion, back then, and probably today too, I would say is the UK. And it was London. It was like the second best place after America for my personal experience and views. So I came to London. I didn't know anyone here or in Europe. I had never been in Europe before. Actually, I had only been out of Argentina to Chile because I'm from Mendoza, so I'm very close to Chile. And once when I was 6 to Brazil. So it was like I was all by things that people had told me or things that I had seen online or something. Like you should go to London. I was like, well, maybe I should go to London. I'd never been to here, so I had no idea. When I arrived here, it was like the middle of summer. I thought London was going to be a little bit more cold, and I had all my winter clothes because I was coming from Argentina. It was 35 degrees Celsius, like really hot, basically for Fahrenheit, let's say. And yeah, I didn't know anyone. I just landed here. I didn't have a hotel. I was looking for a hotel the first day I arrived. I kind of like got into like a hostel kind of thing the first few nights, then moved to a flat share with we were 7 people, Portuguese family, an Italian guy and an Indian guy and myself
I love it.
in the same flat. That was the first 3 months, very fun. And I just looked for a job, like kind of went out there. The only thing I knew was kind of wine, a little bit about wine. So I found a job in a wine bar, started working in a wine bar. And since then, I was like, I need to make this work. Like my plan was, if I can make this work, with no help, with no connections, with not knowing anyone, I can do anything I want in life.
Mhm.
And it was like, I started doing that. I started doing some events for some wineries as a service, like kind of marketing. That's when I started working a little bit in marketing. So I did that. I always had like 2 or 3 jobs at the same time. The restaurant work was good in some ways because it allowed me to kind of request days off. Like if I work like maybe 3 or 4 days, 12 hours each day, then I had like 3 days off and I could work the other things, my side things,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like that. And then at some point I started doing it for one company, then I started doing for 2 or 3. And then it kind of became like a marketing agency where I was like, one of the services was a social media management service because I love social media and marketing in general. And that's how I went into marketing, let's say. So yeah, crazy kind of, it's not the traditional journey, let's say. I didn't work for an agency before, I never worked in a recruitment agency before, but now I run a recruitment agency, 7-figure, recruitment agency. Yeah, it's not your traditional journey, I would say. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
really good because I kind of started from nothing, from like, I didn't have much money when I arrived. It was like I had money to pay rent and food for a month, but I had to find a job within a month,
Yeah,
And
out of
yeah, here we
necessity.
are.
Like, yeah, creativity out of necessity. That's so good. I think it's really interesting the more I talk to people in this space, like, yeah, that it's not a linear path or like the traditional path. And yeah, and I just think of like you learn it out of necessity, and then that becomes a transferable skill for the next phase. And that's what I'm hearing from you in your story. So I'm curious, along the way, have you had any like really influential mentors or role models or people that have taught you some things along the way?
I think I had the opposite. I have people that told me the mentors, anti-mentors, I would say. I had some mentors at the
Okay.
beginning that told me, don't do this, don't do marketing, don't do this because everyone is doing it, so you're not going to succeed. And I was like, well, but I feel like it's really something that I have to do, that I know that my clients will really need this, So I had some of that. And I also had some mentors, but I would say more not personally with me. I think one of the mistakes I made at the beginning of my career, let's say, was always wanting to get a mentor because I had too many doubts about myself and I didn't know I could get stuff. So I thought like if I don't get a mentor, there are lots of things that people know that I don't know. And I don't believe in myself, so I need someone to teach me what to do in business, So I kind of like use a lot of like, people and kind of like just following people on Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, back then to get inspiration from, I think. And I always was of the idea of just figuring things out and just fail and then you learn, I've
Yeah.
always learned that way, I think, better than with mentors. And then obviously yeah.
It sounds like you're a true entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, like I have had obviously, like people that I admire a lot in business. I like to maybe take certain things from different people and see what other people are doing. And then I also like to kind of figure things out by myself and just make the mistake and unfortunately, to be honest, I would love to be the other way around and try not to listen more and have more mentors, but again, like what I built when I came here, I just didn't know anyone, so I didn't have anyone to mentor me. I had to just figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, fast forward here, Propel has grown quite a bit over the last couple of years. What's been some of the keys to the growth?
I think one of them, I would say, is the simplicity of our service. We could have tried to launch additional things and try to what can we more can we do? Where we have technically so far in a year and a half, we have only offered one service and one pricing basically. Like it's the one set, one-off fee based on the annual salary of the candidates. And that makes the messaging and the service and the communication, the marketing a lot simpler because we don't have to any complex add-ons or try to sell something that doesn't make sense or that you have to explain too much. So simplicity has been definitely a big key. I think also there's a lot to do with being obviously my background in marketing and running an agency made us understand really well our clients. I also run a DTC brand at some point, so I kind of had some idea of how both sides are looking at this, and I think that was really important to really understand what the client needs. I think that's one of them. Another one was what is actually good for the client and for the candidate. When I launched Propel, I actually had a different model that was like a set fee. Like there are other companies out there that charge you like $3,000 and then you get like a person and it's always $3,000 or something like that. But then they pay less to the candidate and the difference is how they make money. So it's not transparent, that model. We kind of thought about starting like that. But then as soon as I started thinking about it, I was like, what is actually really first principles thinking, what is really the best for the client? That the salary is transparent, that they pay directly to the candidate, that they have the relationship directly to the candidate, that whatever they pay goes to the candidate, and that they hire the candidate directly, and that's great. Obviously, for us, recurring revenue will be amazing. But what is really, and that's where I think it makes a massive difference when you start thinking about what is really important for a client, what is going to make clients talk about us and tell everyone else about us. And if we have a really great offer and a really good service, that happens naturally. And that has been like, I would say, of the other three things that I told you that are important, but word of mouth for us has been insane. That's been our major growth hack, let's say, if I had to choose one thing.
Yeah, that's great. I love focusing on serving your client. Like what do they really need, and keeping it simple. That's huge. I think about the brain. Like our brains repel complexity and confusion, and they're attracted to simplicity. So I love how you brought that up and how that has really been the key. And what have been some of your toughest lessons that you've learned so far?
Toughest lessons that no matter what we do, it's always our fault. But this is the same for agency people will be understand what I'm saying. I think it's always the customer is always right kind of thing. That's fine. This is like how it is, and just take it and keep going. To keep growing, I think that's been a good kind of learning, and I think consistency in terms of like marketing the company and myself, just being out there and talking to people. That's really important. I think I at some stage of the company, I went out of the contact with the client at the beginning because I hired some people for client success, and they were taking in like some of the initial calls with clients and things like that. I think that it was good to do it, to learn and to add things that we needed to add to our process. But I think I should have stayed a little bit longer. Now I'm back kind of like in the weeds in terms of talking to clients that you understand the business better than ever. And when you start looking at different things, you say, well, why are we doing this way? Well, because of this, and there is not a valid reason. So I think it's obviously there is a balance. And this is what we're always playing as a founder. I think you can't be in everything, doing everything yourself. Otherwise, you just go crazy.
Yes.
But I think it's important not to go out of it too quickly.
Good. That's good. What are some of the biggest trends you're seeing with agency hiring here as we go into 2026?
Well, the main thing is obviously AI. I think that's kind of like everyone is looking at that, and I think people are starting to request a lot of candidates with AI experience. Is kind of everyone is going towards it. I think there is a lot of trying to think about efficiency in terms of how do I basically make more money with less people, technically, which is kind of what we're trying to. Is part of our service, or with people that are less expensive than my US, counterparts or employees. Or how do I make my US employee a lot more efficient by instead of hiring, another US employee, I may hire two Latin or three Latin American kind of contractors basically that will enhance what this person can do,
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a lot of that. It's been a difficult kind of year. 2025 was kind of difficult for a few agencies with tariffs. That was a tricky time for everyone. And then everything else that happened. So I think there is a lot of that. I think those two things are probably the most popular things that I'm seeing now.
Okay. And what are some of the biggest misconceptions about hiring from Latin America when you think about like people's maybe perception?
I would say, well, I mean, one of them would be that you can't hire like high quality talent. I wouldn't say super senior. You can hire super senior people, but the misconception is that it's only like entry level talent and that's it. That is obviously not true. You can hire some amazing, we place some amazing video editors, operations managers, accountants, we have placed a lot of like really senior people too, as well as junior people. You can find everything basically, like in any other market. I think one of the things is that one misconception could be also about the English level of candidates, which is kind of true in some ways, but that's why, we exist as a company because we can find those people that have the English level required for these companies. We have a lot of our candidates have already been working for US companies for years. Most of our candidates actually. So these are people that can, connect properly. Culturally, they are very aligned, so that's great. So yeah, that's another one.
What are some advantages of hiring from Latin America versus other parts of the world when you're thinking of going outside the US and
So one of the main things that we see compared to other, areas of the world is for creative roles, Latin America is actually a really great place to find, video editors, graphic designers, anything that has to do with creativity. I think it's a really great place for that. Obviously, time zone alignment is also very important. We find that, people are obviously the alignment makes it a little bit easier for them to feel a little bit more part of the team. Like that. That's also something that I wanted to mention before is that they are not just looking for like a client, like having a freelance client and just clocking in, clocking out. That's it. This the time that we work with and in Latin America, great people that you can find there are also looking to be a part of your team. It's not just like another, like kind of like a freelance client that they work for and they have three. I'm talking about they only work for you and they commit to the business and they try to grow with your business and everything. So I think that is a great, thing that you can find in Latin America for sure.
Awesome. And then what are some of the more common like job roles that you're placing with agencies right now?
So for us, most popular role is video editor. So video editor is like number one, I would say. Graphic designers are also number two, I would say. And then after that, a lot of everything in terms of email marketers, for example, very popular. Media buyers are also very, very popular with us. Then influencer marketing specialists, also very, very popular. And then on the operational side, you have, operations assistants, e-commerce assistants. Those are probably more popular with brands, but also related, to kind of agency work in some ways. Executive assistants are also very popular. And then, accountants, as I said, bookkeepers. We do some finance roles, and also IT roles, like developers and things like that. Developers, we don't do too much because that's kind of like, there are lots of agencies. There are like a million. Like if there are a million of agencies like mine, there are like 10 million IT agencies. So, but we do it. We can do it because a lot of our recruiters come from that world too. So we have the experience, if necessary.
Yeah. What are for your own business? What are some of the most helpful software tools that you use?
So at the moment, I would say, even though I don't like to admit it, let's say it's a LinkedIn recruiter because it's like, it is very annoying. It is very expensive, but it's part of the job. It's kind of like, it's where a lot of people are. So we need to be there, and we need to use it. And I think it has its good things. I think if I would say the most valuable one at the moment is ChatGPT, to be honest with you. We are using AI a lot for operational things, not too much about generating, things. And we don't ask ChatGPT to give us something out of nothing. We kind of feed a lot of information about a candidate, about a client, about a call we had with a client, and we have ChatGPT kind of summarize it and give it back to us in the format that we need and with the information that we need. So ChatGPT is not really generating any information. It's more about like, all of this information I'm going to give you, and then just give it to me give me what I need from all of this mess that I'm giving you. And that is saving us a lot of time. And we have some custom GPTs for that, and the team are using it. And I think that's going to be game changing for us in 2026.
And what daily habits or routines do you swear by?
Daily habits. I like exercise, to be honest with you. I need it as a founder. I think it's very important to be active because I go kind of like up and down in my life, like everyone else probably. It says I'm launching the business or whatever. I need to work 70 hours, 80 hours, 100 hours a week, and not do anything else. And that's bad, like in the end, when you start looking at the big picture, in the end, you're just not doing anything. You're just in front of the computer, brain burned out. It's not really good. So I think exercise is really good. Once a day, I try to do something. Then family time, that's super important for me too. I think I have two kids. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old.
Oh, wow. So yeah, young one.
So yeah, two young ones, and it's just really nice, to have spend some time. I work a lot, long hours, and but I always spend some time in the mornings with them because I'm based in the UK. I kind of work later hours, so I do spend a bit of time in the morning with them every day. And then in the weekends, I try to really spend some time with my wife and my kids, and just try to disconnect a little bit and just come back rested on a Monday, even though I do some work during the weekend too, but like not like a normal day. So I think those two things are definitely really important for me.
Yeah, that's good. So what's one piece of advice you'd give to all the founders out there who are listening to this?
I would say trust your gut for sure. Try to listen to what your gut is saying. Don't be afraid of failing because it's the best way to learn. I just keep going. It doesn't mean that you're going to keep going with the same business that you are doing at the moment. It could be something else. You never know what's going to be. And every experience kind of gives you a different perspective and different experience that you will use at some point in your life, even if it's something completely different. And that comes from like listening to your gut and to yourself and just believing in yourself and just keep going against all odds.
I
That's
love
what I
that.
would say.
I love that. I love that. And if our audience wants to learn more about you and your business, where's the best place to find you online?
And so I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Twitter, and trying my best to be more active on Twitter, actually. But I am both places. You can find me like with my name, Leandro Cabrini, at LEA Cabrini, like my name, basically on Twitter, and Leandro Cabrini on LinkedIn. Yeah, on our website. You can check us out. We are propel.com. And anyone who needs wants a chat for any reason, just DM me. Happy to help however I can.
Awesome. Leandro, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. And for everyone who's tuned in from the gym, in your car, or at your desk, thank you for joining us. If this episode was helpful for you, be sure to subscribe and share it with another agency founder who you think needs to hear it, because agencies don't rise alone, they rise together. This is Agency Rise.